Hello, welcome to the next part of the object repository module. Over here we'll be talking about how to export the object repository, how to create a shared object repository. Alright, till now we have seen the various object repository functions and everything. Right, so now we'll be talking about the next part. Fine. For example, talking about this web page only for my website. Okay, if you suppose if you go to the object repository, fine, and you are testing this website, okay, you add a certain object inside the object repository. For example, I select this play now button and add it inside the object repository. Fine. Now tomorrow I can change the name. I can change name from watch now to say play. I can do any modifications in this object repository. Right, now suppose there is a team, fine, team of people working together. Alright, 3 people are working in a project, right, and each person has to execute 5 test cases, right, has to develop 5 test cases. Okay, now since all of them are working on the same application, right, you want that the objects which they store in their object repository should be same. That what I mean to say is that the first step is that they should all be using the same object repository, right, so that there is a common platform on which they work. Alright, fine. In my object repository I can name the objects the way I want. Okay, this should not happen. There should be a global system when multiple people are working together. So out here the concept of shared repository comes. Alright, or taking another example, suppose I am working on one machine, right, I want to switch my work to this other machine. So how do I move the object repository? Or your friend says that fine, send me your object repository, I'll check it out. So you want to send him the object repository. That is possible. Okay, you go to resources object repository and you can export your object repository. Right, so I can go out here to file, export local objects and save this object repository as a file in my local PC. For example, I select file export repository and after that I save it in F drive as say demo.tsr. it will be saved as a tsr file, test shared repository, right? So when you click on create, if you go to your F drive, you will be able to see demo.tsr file saved out here. Okay, now you can mail this to your friend or colleague and he can also use the same. Okay, or for example, you make a new test. In this test you can import the repository. Alright, so sometimes you have got 10 test cases. For 10 test cases you can make a single repository, right, and you can import the same repository in each of the tests, right? For example, you go to tools, resources object repository and click on the icon, hold on, sorry, this is the one, associate repositories. I'm really sorry, actually in QTP 11 the option was there over there but not in UFT, right? So you can go to resources associate repositories, fine, and you can associate the repository from here. You can select demo.tsr and you can move action 1 out here and click on OK, right? So you will go to resources object repository, you will see the object repository. However, you will not be able to edit the repository. You will not be able to do any changes in it. So this kind of repository is known as a shared repository, but you cannot change it. Okay, now you can change it with the help of object repository manager. Fine. So what I did over here there is that from one test case I exported all the objects to a file and then I imported the file. That file was tsr file. Now I can also make my own tsr file rather than exporting it. Okay, hold on, I'll tell you. Right, I'll go to resources object repository manager. This can be specifically used to make the object repository. Suppose you know that fine, this is my application, these are the 5 test cases which I have to automate, and you know that what are the contents of the test case, right? So what you do is that, okay, you add the objects of the object repository, you add the objects of the application in the object repository first. Okay, for example, if I am on the page yahoo.com, okay, and over here I have I click on the icon add objects, right, and I click on this web edit text field, right, and I click on OK. So this text field gets added out here. Okay, then suppose I add this search web button, it gets added out here. So you can make your object repository out here, then save this object repository, right? You save it as say repository1.tsr on the hard drive. You close this window, go to your test case, go to the repository, right? Hold on, let me deassociate the object repository from here. Hold on, the older one, right? Now I'll add the repository1.tsr in this. Okay, so what will happen is that all the objects from repository1.tsr will be visible here, and you can use them by dragging them inside UFT. Alright, fine. Now if you go to object repository manager, fine, and if you open repository1.tsr, you can also edit it. You can click on enable editing and you can edit it. Tomorrow if the object changes, you can change the object description properties from here. Okay, if the application changes, right? Suppose if I actually rename this, I rename this to search, and I save it back on the hard drive. So in my test, automatically the name over here web edit search would be updated. The name of the browser is Yahoo, right? If in my object repository I go and name my browser as say X, I save it, so automatically in the code also it will become X, and in the object repository also it will become X. So the changes made to the TSR file from the object repository manager are directly reflected inside the test case. Okay, right? So this is the concept of shared object repository. Okay, suppose we have a test case, first test case, in which we just need to test the login of the application, and the next test case is that we need to log in and say book a hotel reservation after logging into the website, right? So both the tests can use the same object repository. Okay, and the moment you change something in the object repository, the changes will automatically reflect in all the test cases. Alright, so this is the concept. So every test will have the same object repository which will be shared. This also makes it very easy to change the content. If tomorrow the website changes or some object changes on the website, you just have to change at one location and the change will be redirected in all the tests or all the object repositories and all the test cases. Right.